Hey, y'all. It's your girl, Candy J, with a mini episode of Candyology. I know it's been a minute since I have been live, and I just really wanted to come talk to you guys about a few things that's been on my heart and on my mind. I've been seeing clients consistently, and some things continue to come up. And I just want to talk to you guys about this. If you've never been here before, my name is Candy J, Candy Jackson. I am the owner of Candyology Coaching Services. I am a premarital and marital counselor. I also do individual counseling to different ages. I'm also a sex therapist, sex counselor, clinical sexologist, as they call me, and I deal with romantic things for intimacy, anywhere from intimacy to trauma, and there's a vast array of things that I deal with in my practice. So, definitely some things to know. Former marriage boot camp coach, Mocha marriage facilitator, Seven Principles of Making Marriage Work Gottman leader. So there's a lot of education along with experience in my field. So I just want to talk to you guys a little about attachment styles for just a moment, but specifically attachment styles in romantic relationships. And I know that sometimes right now, attachment styles is kind of like a buzzword, right? But what does it really refer to? It's how people think about and believe in relationships. Someone with secure attachment styles believes that their close relationships are trustworthy, whereas someone with an insecure attachment style tends to distrust or worry about their bond with the other person. And one thing that you need to know about attachment styles are they are established in childhood and strongly impact romantic relationships throughout your whole life. So it's definitely something to hone in on just a little bit. So I just want to talk about it really quickly. I'm going to start with secure. So secure attachment styles, they in the person usually engages in healthy relationships with good intimacy, communication, and autonomy. And they usually express their needs very well, and they trust their partner, and they find the relationship very fulfilling. So they're committed to the relationship, but they're also independent, right? They're attentive, they're affectionate, they're accepting, they're able to handle and resolve conflict. And they, of course, they have their bad days like everybody else does. But what's different about these people with secure attachment styles is usually the emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is how you perceive, interpret, and regulate your emotions, right? You understand and manage your emotions in emotions in a positive way. You communicate effectively, and you empathize with others. You use emotions to kind of facilitate your thoughts and your actions, right? And so, being able to do that puts people that are in that attachment style, it makes that bond even more because they are secure in who they are, and they're able to effectively communicate and solve problems together, right? So then you have your insecure people, right? And this is also known as the first one is also known as anxious or anxious preoccupied, right? And these people tend to romanticize love, and it kind of becomes an easier thing for them to like fantasize that bond with someone instead of something being based on reality, right? And they worry about their partner's availability and the commitment, and oftentimes it feels like incomplete without their partner, and they may seek an excessive reassurance or struggle with jealousy. Jealousy shows up with anxious or anxious preoccupied people quite often. So they struggle with insecurities and low self-esteem. They're sensitive to criticism, and they're just really hungry for some type of an approval. They're afraid of abandonment, rejection, and any type of conflict can be a real major thing for anybody that's anxious or anxious preoccupied. They're also very distrustful, as I mentioned. the jealousy rears its ugly head quite often in the relationship. They're also kind of obsessive and clingy, and you can usually, if you know your attachment styles, then you'll peep someone that's anxious attachment or anxious preoccupied pretty easily. And guys, I'm going through these pretty fast, but what I do want us to take away from this is just even knowing the generalities of attachment styles can actually make you even better in your relationships. So we also have attachment avoidant style or dismissive avoidant. These people, they come across very aloof, very distant, emotionally detached. They have a very low EQ or IQ, emotional intelligence, or an emotional quotient. They tend to avoid intimacy, vulnerability, any type of commitment. They often spend time away from their partner. This person is also very overly rigid and guarded and distant. And sometimes it can also be very, very distrusting. They're uncomfortable with sometimes even the slightest bit of emotion and the slightest bit of conflict. And they have very strong. No, I would say they have a very difficult time expressing their needs, their wants, their desires about the relationship, right? They just have they have this illusion to me that you don't need people to survive. And if you know anything about people in general, you always need people. People need people. You need emotional connections, but they struggle with having close people around them, right? Um, the anxious avoidant or fearful avoidant, I would also call it, they alternate between the anxious style, the avoidant anxious style, and the anxious style of the attachments. Simultaneously, they desire and they distrust intimacy with their partner, right? This gives you a feeling of, I don't know if you're coming or going. I don't know if you want me or you don't want me. It's very inconsistent behavior, and sometimes the term, I would say, gaslighting comes about because you don't know which way they're trying to go with things. And so because they have a tendency to avoid any type of emotional extremes, so they're kind of like lukewarm a lot of times. They have a lot of times they have difficulty having healthy boundaries with people. So if you've ever been here before, I talk about boundaries, and I talk about rigid boundaries, and I talk about porous boundaries, and then I talk about healthy ones. Well, they either are all the way rigid, or they are all the way porous, or they go back and forth between rigid and porous and never get to that healthy part. They are prone to have high conflict relationships. These are people that argue all the time. They have their highs and their lows in the relationship, and they can also, I would say, end up in abusive relationships. They also have very few close friends because they're so fearful, right, about the inner conflict between wanting intimacy and resisting it, right? So there's just so much to say about an ancient avoidant person. But again, I'm just trying to give you some of the general gist, right? Um, Most people have a primary attachment style, guys. But it's also common to have some of the traits of the other styles. Definitely, just like all of the different things that we could do say about the DSM-5, you can have a little bit of almost everything, but what is the main thing that you have? And that's the one that you should identify with. There are many different tests online to see which avoidance style you are, to see what emotional intelligence that you have. So I would also say that early parenting and childhood events and adult experiences all play a role in determining attachment styles. People with insecure attachment styles can become more secure by adopting um, I would say new beliefs and new behaviors. And it's not a small process. It is a one step at a time, recognizing what your attachment styles, wanting to do something about it, recognizing this in your partner to help them as well. And you can influence your partner's attachment styles either negatively or positively. What you do want to do is try to help them, focus on the things that they can change about themselves and also deal with the things that have happened to them in the past so that they can have a healthy future. So many times I hear people, not really wanting to talk about or deal with the past. Well, the past is the past, but it should be a catapult to your future. I've heard and I follow this rule quite often. Don't get so stuck what has happened to you, right? Bring all what can you glean from everything that's happened to you? What can you glean out of every experience? What wisdom can you take out of every relationship that you have been in, whether that be mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, teacher, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, your children, all of these different things lead you to different experiences, right? And so you don't want to just glean the negative. You want to learn from the negative, right? But then you want to focus on the positive. What can I learn out of this experience, right? And so that's the biggest thing. It can be recognizing the work that comes with attachment styles can definitely be life changing and powerful, but you have to be open and willing to make those changes that are necessary, right? And embrace the things that are already positive about it, but see what things that can be changed about the things that are negative, right? So that was just my little 2 cents, guys. I know that I've been live for quite a while, but yeah. So have a wonderful day and see you in the post.